I'm Zeno Hroman for Surfcasters General. The point of this video is not to show you how to rig an eel, but to debunk the theory that it takes a half an hour to rig one. We're going to rig an eel in hopefully minutes by just using a zip ties and a piece of floss. The point of using a floss is to attach the head hook to the shank so it doesn't slip. We're going to show you this video in real time so that way you can see exactly how much of a time it takes to rig one. Bear with me, I'm really much more comfortable behind the camera than on camera, but I promise you that the end result of this demonstration is going to be well worth your time. Alright, let's get started. As you watch in this video, you'll realize that rigging an eel is a two-step process. The first step, which takes most of your time, will be tying the back hook to the front hook and then tying the nose around the front hook with a floss. That will take probably 75% of the time it takes to rig an eel. The only hard part about attaching the ties to the eel is attaching them through the eye of the back hook. That can be a little tricky. But other than that, it's a fairly quick process to put the zip ties around an eel. It's the front part of the eel that takes most of your time, and consequently it takes most of the work. Obviously, the first part of this process is to have a hook that you prepare beforehand with either a soldered piece of metal onto the shank or a ball made out of epoxy like I do, or you can either just make some thread over it just to make something where the eel's head won't slip back. The reasoning behind using a floss to attach it instead of using a zip tie like the rest of an eel would be that the floss will dig into the skin of an eel and it will hold it from slipping back. That's one of the most common failure on rigging eels, is that your head will slip off the shank of the hook. And I feel much more comfortable with using a floss instead of using a zip tie. Zip tie is a little bit sturdy. I don't think they can catch that mouth of an eel good enough and cinch it down so it won't slip over it. As you can see, I'm having a little bit of an issue with trying to get one of the zip tied through an eel body. The best bet to do this is to just slide the zip ties along with the needle at the same time and grab it on the other side. But even with these little difficulties of trying to get this last zip tied in, we've managed to rig the eel in about 6 minutes and 3 seconds according to my watch. Now the only question is, how will it hold up? There you go. My main concern with rigging eels with zip ties was how is it going to hold up. Obviously the process is pretty simple and it goes pretty fast, but how is it going to hold up to the fish? Are you going to be able to land more than one fish on it before it falls apart? Are the zip ties going to cut into the meat? I mean, this is a beautiful looking eel, the way it's rigged, but is it going to hold up? Well, I'm happy to report that the actual eel that we used for demonstration for our video looks a lot different today than it did then. Here's a sneak peek. The eel is totally mangled up. It's in 2 pieces. It broke in half. The zip ties are still where we put them. So are they on the nose and behind the head. We put an extra zip tie on the nose just behind the wax. And the eel is totally broken in 2 pieces. It's just about ready to separate from the body. Now this is the exact eel that we use for the rigging. On this particular eel, I managed to land 6 fish over 30 pounds in an hour between, I believe they were between 29 and 44 pounds. All the 6 fish came on this exact same eel. All big fish, and this is what they did to it. And as you can see, the guts is hanging and they were still hitting it as long as it had any motion. So this should give you a pretty much a good dose of confidence that rigging eels with ties is definitely a way to go. Not only to save you time, but that it will hold up to the fish and it'll simplify the process for you. And you have one less thing to worry about failing, because the thread, as good as the tire as you are, and God knows I am not, with your square knots and all that, eventually they will break and you will have a hook movement where you don't want it. With zip ties, once you put them on for good.